I'm Aaron from PhoneDog.com, and let's be honest, you drop your device on a regular basis, probably just like I do, and every time you drop it, you're like, oh, I hope the screen didn't break, I hope I didn't do anything bad to the phone, I hope it's not scratched. Well, if you're like that, I have a device for you if you're on AT&T. The Samsung Rugby Smart. This bad boy's in the house. We're going to do an unboxing, and just to give you a quick recap, 5-megapixel camera, 5 live, 4G speeds. It's called a rugged smartphone, according to the box, and it's packing Android. So a mid-range Android phone, but it's a phone that they bill as rugged on AT&T and on Samsung's site. So is this a device for you? We're going to find out in the unboxing, but first some love to Best Buy Mobile for hooking us up with phones like this for use in our one-paw bandit game. When you go into Best Buy Mobile, you're going to walk out working. They'll help you get set up with your email, your web, and more, and give you some tips and tricks on how to keep this phone scratch-free only at Best Buy Mobile. Let's check it out. Samsung Rugby Smart. Is this a device to get? Is it indeed a smart device? Is it made to play rugby? I don't know. We're going to find out in the unboxing, which starts right now. So look, high-end phones aren't for everybody, and you may be one of those people that has an issue with dropping your phone or scuffing it around too much. Well, if you're on AT&T and you're that person, you've broken a screen in the past, or you get frustrated when your phone's scratched, the Samsung Rugby Smart might be the device for you. Now, AT&T was kind enough to send this over, so thanks so much to AT&T. I'm actually going to send this to Sydney when I'm done doing the unboxing because I want her to take a look at some of the rugged features of this device, how it stacks up to some other mid-range smartphones on the horizon, and for her to do some review content with it. So this thing's headed to Sydney so you can see some awesome review content and more, first impressions, things like that from her. But on the back, you can see Android powered. It's a rugged smartphone, according to them. Rugged smartphone. 4G capabilities, no LTE, but it's HSPA+. It's Wi-Fi capable. It's packing a 1.4 gigahertz single core Snapdragon processor. It has a 3.7-inch display that's a Super AMOLED display. It's 5-megapixel camera with 720p HD video recording, and you can see that it's a pretty thick device here, thanks to all the rugged features on it. 1,650 milliamp hour battery, and in the box you get your health, safety, and warranty guide, a quick start guide, and of course your USB cable and AC adapter module, and then the battery, which we'll throw back here in the back. Now it's got this typical lock thing on the back where you can keep water out by, or lock screw, if you will. And I'm going to go ahead and pull this off as soon as I find out where to remove it. Let's see. It's unlocked. Let's see. Maybe it's down here. There we go. Go ahead and peel it off that way. So it's water, if I remember right, it's water resistant, or it can be submerged in up to, I think it's a foot of water, if I remember right. No, I'm sorry, 1 meter for water, or 1 meter of water for 30 minutes. So that's what you can do. So it lasts quite a bit of time underwater, and it's, of course, susceptible or not susceptible to dust and things like that. So if you drop it in the dust, drop it in some twigs or in the grass, something like that, this phone's going to be more than capable of surviving. Or even if your 4-year-old, let's say, drops it into something, it should, water, juice, whatever, it should be fine for at least 30 minutes, as long as it's less than 1 meter of juice. Because if it were more than 1 meter, that'd be a lot of juice. But you can see down here capacitive buttons and actual physical buttons. You got your menu, home, back, and search buttons, your power button over here on the side, which the battery may be dead. Nope, not dead. So 3.7-inch display. So this thing's just a little bit larger to give you a comparison than the iPhone 4S at 3.5 inches, but much, much smaller than the Samsung Galaxy Note at 5.3 inches. And just because this is a big device, this has kind of become the go-to comparison device. But you can see the size difference between the two if you've seen the Galaxy Note in an AT&T store in comparison to the Rugby Smart. So a little bit of a thicker device, but you've got the camera on the back with your flash and 720p HD video recording, your 3.5mm headphone jack up top underneath this flap that prevents water from getting into it, a volume rocker over here, typical Samsung form factor with the power button on that side. And we're going to touch the Android. I'm going to skip through all this so we can get into it pretty quickly and take a look. So you've got your micro USB charging port down here at the bottom as well. We'll use the network provided values here to get in here. So it's 3.7-inch display, and having worked with devices that are up, at least 4.3 inches. I mean, you look at, I'm looking at my desk right now. The Droid Razr Max, 4.3 inches. The Titan, 4.7 inches. The which device is this? The Galaxy S2, 4.3 inches. 5.3 on the Galaxy Note. After working with all these big devices, it's a little bit different to go back to a 3.7-inch display. I still see a market for it, but it is just below the sweet spot for a lot of people, with the exception, of course, of the iPhone, which a lot of people like. So it's running a 1.4 gigahertz single-core Snapdragon processor, like I said, with Samsung's TouchWiz version 4.0, running atop Android 2.3.6. So you can see 2.3.6 there, and of course all the status stuff here. And we can go back and take a look at TouchWiz. Now you're going to get the typical AT&T stuff out of the box here. You got Code Scanner, Family Map, Navigator. You got featured applications, AT&T Messages, My AT&T, YP Mobile. then of course it just circles back to the main menu. But you can uninstall most of that stuff thanks to AT&T really listening to their customers and realizing that not everybody wants that bloatware pre-installed on this device. And while we're thinking about it, let's go into messaging and see which keyboards come with it and more. Excuse me. And you can see here, keyboards out of the box, you get the typical gingerbread keyboard, Samsung's keypad and swipe, so typical kind of AT&T and Samsung configuration there. So we'll say the quick brown fox is back from Barcelona. Or actually in Barcelona, it's Barcelona. They have a kind of a pronunciation difference there. And you see notification bar, and you can see some shortcuts due to the smaller display. You can see BT, for example, instead of Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, GPS, airplane mode, and screen rotation. All shortcuts up there on the top of the device, and the AT&T network identifiers up there in the top left-hand corner. A lot of people don't like that, myself included. I'm not really sure why they do that, but it's up there along with a front-facing camera up at the very top. So you've got a bunch of different keyboard options. Transition effects appear to be pretty smooth, and for the most part, so far as I can tell at least, it seems to be a pretty responsive device. Single-core Snapdragon processor, but still relatively responsive thanks to TouchWiz version 4.0, which is a drastically improved version of Samsung's user interface atop Android 2.3. Really, really huge improvement over the Infuse 4G, the Charge, and some of those other ones that we saw about a year ago running TouchWiz 3.0. So you can see pitch to zoom responsiveness, pretty decent here, but again, you're dealing with a pretty tiny display, and that's the thing you're going to have to keep in mind. 3.7 inches, if you're somebody that listens to a lot of music, or you like your YouTube content, or perhaps you browse the web quite a bit, yeah, it's going to be relatively responsive in terms of speed. Even that single core processor works just fine. It's going to be a rugged device, but the display size might be a little bit too small for you. Still pinch to zoom, relatively responsive. You've got your Wi-Fi network stuff up there as well. And then you got your phone application down here. So typical Samsung format here. You've got your logs, contacts, favorites, and groups all up top along with your keypad here, your island keypad. Apologize, I picked up a cough from Barcelona, so forgive me for that. 5-megapixel camera. We'll take a quick look at that. 720p HD video recording. So look for a sample test from Sydney when she gets this device. But you can take a look here, and we'll focus in on the text just to do a quick look at the camera. And even it being a 5-megapixel camera, it's relatively responsive here, and you can easily see the text and, of course, pinch to zoom in. So the device seems responsive, despite having a single-core processor. I mean, we're in the age of dual-core and quad-core processors, so it is a little bit behind, but it's still, built as a mid-range device with pretty rugged specs. So if you're somebody, you're looking for a decent phone that's relatively fast, but you're hard on it, perhaps you're a construction worker or you work in a field that's a little bit harder than, an office job, let's say, this could be a good device for you and could be something worth considering when it arrives at AT&T on March 4th. So this weekend it arrives. I believe it's $100 with a 2-year agreement, so take a look at it over the weekend. And perhaps it could be your next device on AT&T. Much more coverage to come on PhoneDog.com with AT&T Samsung Rugby Smart, so keep it locked on the site for continuing coverage. Follow us on Facebook, Facebook.com/PhoneDog. Follow me on Twitter, PhoneDog_Aaron, and on my personal Facebook page, Facebook.com/PhoneDogAB. Much more coverage to come with this device. Keep it locked on the site, and stay tuned for some more content from our teen messaging editor, teen extraordinaire. She's not actually a teenager, but she does a lot of cool stuff with phones, and she's really good. Sydney. Stay tuned for that and some dog fights and more on PhoneDog.com. We'll see you next time.